All right, here we are back in my studio, also known as my apartment, of course. And here tonight with me is Jessica Gallant. So, Jessica, could you introduce yourself for us?
Hey, I'm Jessica Gallant. I'm the cinematographer on Spread Pigs to the Slaughter.
Cool. And when I first met you, it's so funny because I always I wanted to call you Gallant. I was like Jessica. Everybody, this is Jessica Gallant.
No, no, it's just the standard English pronunciation.
I love the shirt, by the way.
Oh, Joy Division, yeah.
Uh, no, thank you for being here tonight, but also thank you for your collaboration with me. Um, One of the comments that I consistently get when people see Spread, and especially the ones who like it, are that they really like the way the film looks. And it's really interesting. I want to have a whole conversation with you about this in a minute. But people will say like, "Man, you really did a good job." I mean, they're like, "Man, you really did a good job the way that you shot that movie and the way it looks." And I'm like, "Thank you, but." Help you understand something. I brought on DP for this movie, and when you're watching the Academy Awards and stuff, guys, and you hear
Yeah.
about cinematography, this is the person who matters, okay? And I was like, and her name is Jessica Gallant, and I never accept that praise. I accept the praise for hiring you, but I do not accept, and for working with you and collaborating with you, but I do not accept the praise that you so well deserve for coming in very late in the process, uh, in some ways a little skeptical, rightfully so, and still at the end of the day, through mine and your push and pull creatively and everything else, we ended up with something that looks and feels like nothing else out there.
Thank you. Um, yeah, I watched the film multiple times, the finished cut of it, and it doesn't look like as small of a budget as it was. It looks like a much larger budgeted movie.
Yeah, and that's consistently one of the things I hear. And again, I always say one of the main reasons for that is Jessica, because David and I did a good job on Vengeance Turns, but almost in some ways our knowledge of each other almost worked against us because we're very forgiving of each other. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
whatever, keep going. Whereas you and I would check each other constantly, especially on the first movie, be like, is that what you really want? And
Yeah.
uh, and
That's one of my big fears on set. My job is to give you what you want before you ask for it.
Mhm.
And if I haven't worked with someone before, I'm not like 100% certain if this is what they want or if it's what I think they want, which can be two different things. Um, so I had to ask you a lot, is this what you want? Is this how you don't want it done or how you want the shot set up or how you want the lighting for it?
Yeah.
Um,
And
Conversely, there's directors I've worked with multiple times. It's like I already know what they want before they ask for it.
which we had a much easier, we had a more of a pattern for Succubus Next Door, the next movie that we
Yeah.
worked on together. We had kind of developed a lingo, we had kind of developed a code, and it was such a different experience working on Succubus Next
Yeah.
Door, and we had had more prep time. I had you involved like from the beginning on that one. On Spread, it was interesting because I remember when I put the notice out again, I didn't really know what I was doing. You were the first DP that I've ever hired. I'd always just used David, my friend, in the past, or stupidly shot stuff myself
Yeah.
to ill effect, uh, barely scraping by when I would do it myself. But I remember that when you sent your information over, what really impressed me was when we started working together 5 years ago now, 4 years ago. You had been DP on like 52 features.
Well, now it's over 70.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was gonna say though. That
It's
was
a
like four
lot.
years ago, and I remember
Yeah.
that the number at that point, like 15 or 17 of them had been horror movies that were
Yeah.
shot primarily in a lot of darkness and stuff,
Yeah.
which is one of the kind of the things that I'd been talking about. And just seeing your qualifications and the way that you presented it, and it was real. That I got to go look at your stuff and go, shit,
Yeah.
okay, this is the proof is in the pudding. This I don't gotta as long as we can communicate, then we can make a movie.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
but most horror films are shot in the dark. There's, a few exceptions like, The Shining by Kubrick.
yeah.
But most of them deal with, things that lurk in the shadows, things that are instinctively fearful for us as people.
So all the way through the movie, you really opened my eyes. David had done this in the past as a DP and cinematographer, but you at a higher level and more professional and focused as that's your career. You really opened my eyes to a few things as we were shooting. Um, and again, it would be stuff that I, as the director, without thinking about it, from the aspect of the DP, I just tell you what I want, then I just expect it to happen.
Yeah.
And there'd be times where you'd be like, okay, Bobby, but do you want it to be like, this, again, like asking me like, am I gonna rack focus or are we gonna do this in 2 shots?
Yeah.
And I'd be like, oh shit, I guess that makes a difference,
Yeah.
and so you talking me through some of that stuff, but I remember there were two things that I had to convince you of that later you were like, I'm glad that we did it. You were right. It did work or whatever. And the first thing I was telling somebody else on a podcast recently that, man, I was talking out my ass. I was really, and I didn't realize it at the time, how much experience and concern you were bringing into this conversation and that I didn't get it and I was blowing it off. But at the end of the day, it did work. And that was the thing about using the cell phones as the light. Because you, as a DP, rightfully, your question was, okay, but how are we really going to light it? What's the real lighting going to be like? And I was like, no, that's the genius. We're just going to use the cell phones. And you were like, like, are you insane? That was the way I felt when you were talking to me at first. But I remember when we shot that scene of them in the living room standing in a circle. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
And you were like, hey, Bobby, come over here, look at the monitor. After we did the shot, you rewound it and looked, and you're like, that's cool because something happened that I had never even guessed, but it did work, and that was by their reflecting their phones off of them, there ended up being that like ball of light in the center,
Yeah.
and it was so unanticipated but so magical, you know, and then again, rightfully, you were concerned because I wanted to set up the second camera, but never thinking about matching the light, the everything from the f-stop to
Yeah.
the, everything that you would be begging me to stop and think about to make sure that the look was consistent. Um, and we
That's
ended
one
up
of the
using
differences between like really low budget films and the very big budget studio films is the consistency. The
100%,
studio films are just consistent throughout,
100%.
and then the really low budget stuff, I edited a film for a friend of mine, re-edited it, and it's just there was no consistency. Like
Right.
a scene would start in the day and part of the middle of the scene was at night, and then it'd go back to being in the day again, and you're just bouncing back and forth like that.
Yeah.
And it's important, it's consistent.
That's disorienting and it takes the viewer
Very
out,
disorienting.
and you would try to explain that to me and stuff. And so we did not end up using a lot of the B camera footage. But the one shot that really stands out and that you liked and that hit us both was the one from the loft down
Yeah.
onto them when they were setting up the
Yeah.
Twister game, and that was really just so much of that stuff. I just wanted it to be like what Robert Rodriguez would call the dog, just something I could cut to the next scene. You know what I mean, as a cutaway or something like that. Um, Damn, though, there's something specific I was going to ask you about related to all this. Um, what to you, though, what was your biggest challenge or what was your biggest concern coming into it, not knowing me and stuff like that? I mean, part of it's getting
Um,
paid. I want to make
just
sure you got paid, but
Yeah, just
creatively,
adhering to the schedule because we have problems during the filming, and a lot of times we were just behind in the schedule from things that were beyond either one of our control,
yeah,
and missed opportunities to shoot
yeah,
scene differently or to get more coverage for the scene
yeah,
because there were other issues or problems that had to be dealt with.
right. Yeah, and that's the thing I try to tell people who want to make movies. I'm like, you got to keep in mind, you got to plan everything out to a T because things will not go to plan.
Yeah.
and you got to be able to find some way to get back on that get things back on track. And like you said, we experienced that everything from heat to personality
Yeah.
conflicts and stuff like that. Uh,
Or just technical
yeah,
ability,
and just
like,
pure technical.
yeah.
Um,
Or someone unplugging the camera batteries so they weren't charged when I tried to change them.
yeah. And so much of what those type of problems result from that skeleton crew aspect,
Yeah,
especially stuff like that. And then you're hiring somebody who is less experienced in that FX department or something, and they have this idea of themselves that's incorrect, and they're doing things like moving around equipment and stuff.
yeah.
Oh wow. Uh, it was interesting. Most people stayed at the location on that one, which was a whole other story. One person stayed at a nearby Airbnb, but you were the only person that was completely insane enough to drive back and forth a couple of times. But I saw the reason why in your lap just a while ago.
Well, he's up here now.
Yeah, yeah. So, how hard was that part for you, the driving back
The
and forth?
drive, yeah, that was pretty difficult, but I've done it before on other shows.
I gotcha. Um, is there anything that after the movie that you were particularly happy with or particularly proud that you like
I
the
was
way we
just
done it?
happy with how it turned out. I mean, it did have a consistent look about it. I think it was effective. I thought it was scary in all the places where it's supposed to be scary.
Mhm.
And it was funny in the places where it's supposed to be funny, as opposed to like things where you just screw up really bad and the audience starts laughing at him, though, no, that's not supposed to be funny.
Yeah,
The performances for the most part were very good.
yeah.
Um, I think the story had enough twists and turns in it that people weren't quite sure what direction it was going to go,
Mhm.
and without, predicting, oh, that's going to happen next, and something different happens.
Yeah.
I was, I'm sorry, I got cat fur. It's making my nose itchy.
No.
Um, I really like some of the shots of the where we use shadows to imply things that were happening as opposed to actually showing it, because what the audience thinks they see is always more frightening what they are actually seeing.
It's one of the conversations that we had during the shoot, and it's one of the things that you brought into this particular movie that added a definite stylistic aspect to what people see in the movie. Because once we started really, you and I, once we settled into a groove and you really got where I was trying to go and trying to achieve a lot, trying to make it look as big as possible on as little budget and time as possible, you were the person that came up with, we're going to use some shadows. So there's the whole thing like when Danny and Jade first come together in the hallway, and you had the wonderful idea about putting that big light in the bathroom and just blasting it across onto them so that their shadows were on the wall there. And it really, when you think about it, it looks great, but there's no reason for it other than this whole thing that becomes like an arc through the movie. Because then we have the shadow of Eshan when he's getting the shit kicked out of him with the crowbar, right? And do you remember one of the cool things that we went back for our reshoots? And this is a great example of teamwork where it was Edison, our lighting guy, who had the idea about, hey, let's I'll go get a glass of water and I'll throw it in front of the light and we'll see if that shadow makes like blood on the wall. So here's you coming up with the idea of the shadows, our
Yeah,
lighting guy coming up with the idea of let's throw water, and we ended up with something really cool looking and it
yeah,
worked. When I first did the edit on that, I was so tickled. And then, like you said, we carried that over to where we needed it. This is where we actually fucking needed it. Sorry, language. Where we really needed it was in the scene of the seduction and murder of Antoine and Eileen.
yeah.
Because we could not shoot that FX wise what I
Yeah, that would have been pretty difficult.
what I really wanted to shoot there, which was yeah, a
Yeah,
crowbar going through his rear end and
yeah,
out the back of her head.
yeah,
You know. But the shadow achieves that, and like you said, for many people, that is better. Many people don't want the gore. I know people there are just that terrifier audience
yeah,
out
yeah,
that just want gore. They don't buy it, but if you're a horror movie fan and you know the harbinger
yeah.
trope, and you also understand politics, it all comes together. I love Smash True Guy, but again, I'm upset because as much as I love what I did and I love what we captured, I'm telling you, Jessica, I know I could have brought 10 times more
Yeah.
to that.
Well, if we had had
More time,
if we'd had a bigger budget, we would have had more time for filming, and then you could have spent more time working with the
rehearsing.
actors and working on
Yep.
your characters. If we had um, a dedicated effects person,
Yep.
that could have just handled the effects,
Yeah. When we
that were,
shot that stuff that day, it was four of us. It was
yeah,
me, you, McKenna, and Sam running
yeah,
sound. That's
yeah.
it. We were the
And
last, like right before we left, in fact.
yeah, and we just spent a couple of hours on it too.
Yeah. And I felt under so much pressure.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? But I kept talking to myself from my directorial, like as a director, I would talk to
yeah,
myself as an actor. And I would say, remember that you had this hand down and
yeah, yeah,
stuff like this because you're gonna be pissed when you go to edit
yeah,
this. And luckily in the edit, I was able to do a lot of stuff that and like you said, I think some people can enjoy that scene and hate the rest of the movie.
yeah. I think if they like that scene, they'll like the rest of the film.
Yeah, it's such a fun scene, man. I just like I said, I just feel so I feel like I feel like I feel like I did not do it justice.
Yeah,
You did, but we did not. McKenna and I did not deliver as high as we could. And I
we were
delivered
also
here.
really rushed filming it, which is never a good
That's
thing.
yeah, that's the biggest thing. Because
Yeah,
honestly, if you remember, it was basically I had to keep settling without even seeing the shit. I had to keep on sitting there and saying, "No, go ahead and go to the next one. I'll use
yeah,
that as our wide. I've got that. Come around and get me on the other side," without ever looking at them.
yeah,
I was like, "And now come around the other. Do you want to do another take? No, we don't have time. Let's just run through it. I'll do it. Just get on
yeah.
that side and let's do it." Um, but uh, But yeah, getting painted orange was fun, and wearing an aluminum hat, having panties for a COVID mask,
Yeah.
and just being so bizarre. Just
And standing out in the sun.
yeah, yeah. And at that point, I was so exhausted. I think what did work in our favor for my performance was I was so burned out by that point that there was no facade,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I mean, Smashed Fruit guy's been through a lot.
Yeah, yeah, I got to just pour it out, It's like it was hit or miss. There was no faking it. I was in character.
Yeah.
It could have been a complete miss, but I was in the zone. Um, so I was real pleased. I remember there were so many moments of stress throughout that shoot, and everybody would try to make the mood lighter and stuff for other people, and it never seemed to work, whether it was me, you, or anybody else. Um, but again, it was because of the pressure, and as upset as I get sometimes with certain aspects of that shoot and certain aspects of the amount of support that the cast and crew show afterwards, the truth is what we put out on the stage when we poured out on the table was pretty intense, you know?
Yeah.
Um, One of the other things, real quick, before we talk about Succubus Next Door, and then I want to talk to you about your career, is I've gotten a few comments also about our moonshots.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because
When they're on the balcony and
yep, I've had more than one person ask me about the balcony shot if that was green screened, you know,
yeah,
and that tickles me to death because of the fact that we got something so beautiful and so lush that people literally don't believe it's real.
yeah,
That's outstanding.
yeah,
And I remember this was another thing that you really brought to it. When we first got together, you were like, well, I was looking at the weather for the next few days. We've got full moon, we've got this and
yeah, yeah,
this. And if the weather is permitting, we must get these shots,
yeah,
you know. And we would start rearranging shit. You remember it would be like when the confrontation between Rex and Amy in the front yard. I remember you coming in and going, "Okay, Bobby, the moon is right where we want it right now. So wherever we're at right now, forget it. Let's go do those shots."
yeah.
and we went out and shot the whole thing with like Rex killing the landlord and Amy going, "We're broken up," and jumping in the truck, and she's got that moon right up over her head.
Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff is it's you need talented people like Jessica there. You need the cooperation of nature. You just need so many little things to come together sometimes, you know? Is that your
I-
overall experience on the set, on
Yeah.
sets?
I just finished a horror film. Title of it is Mary. It's a supernatural horror. Um, and one of the problems we had in filming was we were shooting when the moon was not out, so we could not get shots of the moon to cut in there. Which kind of hurt us because it would have been nice for some of the like the wider shots at night just to get the moon in the frame.
Yeah, because I remember you actually even talking about that. Like, if we can't, you can always just put the moon in. But then I
Yeah,
remember the excitement with like when they were on the balcony, Bobby, come look at this, you know, and me going, we got to get it. Let's,
yeah,
and there was that halo around the moon,
yeah.
and
That kind of stuff is difficult to do in post unless you have like a really good
yeah,
CGI person.
yep, absolutely. So it made it a natural for me when we started working on Succubus Next Door, and I don't want to talk a lot about that one tonight, just because I want to make sure we can have a whole conversation later. But it made it very natural after we worked on Spread. Every up, every down that we experienced as a team, whether that you and I may have experienced, it didn't matter. The quality of it and the overall understanding that we were able to achieve creatively and personally and professionally, it made it a no-brainer when I wanted to make Succubus Next Door. You were the first person, literally, that I wanted to call and get involved early in the process so that we could do it again on a very low budget, but try to accomplish something that would defy
Yeah.
that budget. And so I was glad to work with you again on that too. And like I said, we'll do a whole interview on that. But right now, I'm more interested, real quickly, just as a few minutes, I want to talk to you about your career too, Jessica. How did you get started in this business? What happened?
Um,
When did you lose your mind?
yeah. Um, Both my parents worked in the industry. Went to college, I got a degree in psychology. I'd plan on going to graduate school, but I couldn't afford it at the time, so I ended up going into working in social services. And then after doing that for I don't remember how long ago it was, several years, I got hurt on the job and couldn't return to it. My father's like, "Well, why don't you come out here to Los Angeles? You can go to film school. You can get, working out here." So it's like, okay, I'll do that. So I
That's
came
mine.
out here, I got a second degree in cinema. I plan on moving back to Cleveland afterwards, but I kept getting job offers out here, so I stayed.
Wow. That's mind blowing to me that your dad's suggestion was come out here and go to film school. That's like
Yeah.
the last thing my parents would have ever.
That's the last thing I think most people's parents would say to them.
Yeah, my parents would be like, "There's a ditch digger job for
Yeah,
$19 an hour.
yeah,
You can have a heart attack in that ditch next to
yeah,
your own trailer
yeah,
if you just stay in Kentucky."
yeah.
Um, so when did you know you wanted to stay in the business? What happened? When was that?
Well,
What
it's just a
happened?
matter of just the job offers were here, so I stayed.
Really?
Uh,
So it's like just you woke up one day, you're like, I am a DP?
well, I mean, that's what I concentrated on in film school. I shot other students' projects. Um,
But it never crossed your mind, like, I'm going to be a director or I'm going to be a writer. It's like once you were
no,
in that world, you were
I'll
like,
just do it.
my job is making it look good.
Yeah, just interested in the visuals.
Are you interested in, and do you work in still photography as well, or does your focus strictly video?
That well, every once in a while I'll do some still work, but usually it's the moving images that interest me.
And
Um, not interested in directing. I mean, there's been a few times people have asked me if I would direct something and I directed it for them, but it's not something I enjoy doing.
you always had nice little suggestions, but I could see where it's not your overall focus.
Yeah.
You would look at it, even the shots that you suggested were more from a DP's,
Well, I
standpoint.
mean, if someone asks me, does it look better if I do it like this, or I do it like this, or like what looks better for camera, what plays better on camera, I can give suggestions for that. But in terms of like motivation, it's like, I don't know.
So I kind of know the answer to this already, but what is your weapon of choice?
For filming,
Yeah.
Um, it's whatever you have available. The best camera is the one that you already have.
I like that.
Well, I mean, that's when I do take stills, it's more like street photography or candid type
Mhm.
stuff. So it's like whatever you got, that's what you use to
Mhm.
take the picture. The lenses I use are um, the prime lenses I have are Voigtlander rangefinder lenses, which are used for um, street photography.
Mhm.
Though you see something, you just go ahead and grab it and shoot it. Um,
And you have an FX6, right?
yeah, it's an excellent camera for documentaries and horror films because it has really good low light capability.
That's what I was
Like,
going to ask you. So when you start looking at different aspects, like if somebody wants something low light or they want something action oriented, does that make
yeah.
you think about different cameras or just different
Well,
lenses?
cameras are usually dictated by the budget. Like if you had the
Right.
money, if everyone had the money, everyone would be shooting on Aries. Or if you had even more money, you'd be shooting on IMAX like Nolan.
Sure.
Um,
And is that really the way you feel? I mean, is that, do you
well, I
think,
mean, there's logistical issues with shooting with IMAX because the cameras are huge and they need to be.
yeah,
But I think most people, if given an opportunity, would prefer shooting on an Arri over, other cameras. If you look at, there's different uh, uh, like every year someone will release a list of, these were the Academy Award nominees for Best Picture, and these were the cameras they were shot on, or these are the film playing at Cannes, and these are the cameras that they were shot on. And the majority of them are always Arri cameras. They're considered the gold standard.
yeah, and it's interesting though, because it's like, is it because the best people are using them or is it because they're the best camera? Or is it both?
Um, it's probably the best people using them because they're probably the best camera if you have sufficient budget to support it.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, there's times and situations where my camera, the FX6 or an A7S, might be a better choice for the low light capability. If
sure.
you wanted to shoot, entirely lit under a full moon, you could do it with, my camera, the FX or the A7S. You'd be very hard pressed to do that on an Arri.
What was the camera that came out from Sony a couple years ago? They used it on Ozark. It was called the Sony, was it? God damn it. I used to know the name of this. It was right on the tip of my tongue.
Well, there's the Venice.
Venice. That was it. That
The
was it.
Venice is an excellent camera too. Sony's version of the Arri.
Is that kind of what it is? 'Cause I want to say I know that at the
Well,
time,
that's their top of the line camera. Yeah,
I know that like who was it? Jason Bateman is the director, and he was talking about his DP using it and saying what a
yeah,
fantastic camera it was, especially for like the shots they were doing, like
yeah,
motion shots on or like moving boats, stuff like that
yeah,
on the water and stuff. I forget exactly the technical stuff, but it had stuff to
yeah.
do with being on boats and stuff. So yeah. Um, Interesting. So if in a perfect world, would you like if like the fairy godmother of cameras came down, you would say give me an Arri?
Yeah, probably.
Like and what's their top one? It's the Arri Pro? Arri Pro?
Well, I would probably go with the Arri Mini because it's a little more versatile.
I got you. I got you. And recently I know it was cool when I saw your note on Facebook, uh Facebook that about having worked on Lee Cronin's The Mummy.
Yeah, it wasn't
Second
that.
camera?
It wasn't that. It wasn't the big. It was the crap. What was it? It was the low budget ripoff version of the big feature Mummy.
Okay.
It was released by, oh crap, who's that studio that does all the mockbusters like Sharknado?
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yeah,
Okay.
so that was released by them.
Okay.
So yeah, I operated second camera on that. I was just did it for a couple of days. It was originally titled something else, but after the Mummy came out, they're like, "Hey, there's a mummy in this, so let's call ours, something
And the mummy
related
too.
to the mummy." Yeah,
The mummy also.
yeah.
What do you do you have a dream project? Do you have something you would like to do before you call it quits?
No, but I would like to shoot 100 features. By the time I, retire or die or whatever happens.
Mm-hmm. And is there any genre you haven't shot that you want to shoot? Like, have you done a Western and you want to do a Western, a
I've
period
done,
piece?
I don't think I've done a strict Western. I've done Western adjacent
Mhm.
films that were kind of considered Western. I've
Does it
done,
appeal to you, like that period
well,
aspect?
I mean, it's just the challenge. I shot, um, Ain't We Got Fun, which was a homage to low budget studio musicals from the 1930s, and we tried to make it look as much like a low budget musical from the 1930s as
Nice,
possible.
nice.
And the look is really good. I mean, it really does look like was shot in that time frame. So that was fun. That was challenging. That was something different to do. I enjoy shooting horror films. I enjoy shooting comedies, but I enjoy shooting, most different types of film projects.
Cool, cool. Well, I'll keep you in mind for everything. And like one of the projects we'll talk about more offline is something that I saw you had one time worked on, like a very similar kind of thing, but it looked like it was maybe for like a vertical type thing, maybe. But it's a sitcom about background actors.
Oh yeah, that. I shot the pilot for it, and then they hired someone cheaper to shoot the rest of the
Gotcha.
the series.
Well, what's funny is again, what I want to do is if I shoot it, if I end up going forward with this, is bring you on this time and in the future as the DP, and hopefully be able to bring in staff for
Yeah,
you. Have a budget where we can actually have you telling me, Bobby, why don't we get a camera operator and a
yeah.
second cam or whatever. Start listening to more of that, and we'll talk more about it. But in some ways, it'll be more challenging, as always, and in some ways, it'll be a little easier because of the fact that I want to shoot it like docu style,
Yeah.
which I know it
If
presents challenges, but it also simplifies certain things. So,
if a film's not challenging, then there's something seriously wrong with
yeah, yeah.
it.
It's
Or you're just totally oblivious to all of the issues and problems and chaos going on around you.
every time I write something, I try to think about the concerns that I had on the previous work, the previous project, and like I'll simplify it, I'll strip it down, I'll do
Yeah.
something different this time. But then I immediately throw myself some other massive
Yeah.
curveball, you know?
When you're making a film, there's like thousands of moving parts in
Right.
there. And it only takes one little thing just to throw everything else off
Yeah.
and to grind the project to a halt while you're
Yeah.
trying to deal with it. I can
Well, the
remember
thing is, you want it to be interesting too. So the thing is, you start letting your imagination go, and
it's always stuff that you can't anticipate. I can remember Greg Morgan, who I shot a couple of features for, told me on the first feature he shot, they lost almost the entire first day of filming because the grip truck got stuck in the mud. It had rained. And they were dealing with that all day long. You have these weird issues come up. I had something similar happen on the Zompocalypse therapy sessions where we were shooting at an Airbnb as the main location and it
yeah.
flooded.
Oh shit.
So we lost that location, and we weren't able to shoot there for several days.
Wow.
And then you have other just weird, strange things that come up that you can't anticipate.
Uh, I can't wait to do my series of interviews about Succubus Next Door because there's a couple things that got me so upset on that one. And number one thing that got me really upset was our FX department. And I've been working with the same FX person since Spread. Like you, I called this person early and had them working. And
Yeah.
then they're here for rehearsals, they're here for breakdowns, they're here for all this shit. And then the very first day of our shoot, ghost. The second day of the shoot, they apologize, swear they'll be there, ghost. That literally could have ended the shoot when you're our size. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? And instead, Rob and I were scrambling, and we were all figuring stuff out like, let's do this, let's do this. I had to
Yeah.
rearrange stuff. We were doing makeup ourselves. We were doing stuff that was low makeup intensive and all that. So then I ended up having to hire more than one makeup for when we had the succubus. I hired that one girl to come out. She did such a good job of doing what I asked her to do. I drew the image and she put
Yeah.
the stuff on. She could not come back the next day, and she had already told us that. But I thought if we have all these pictures of
Yeah.
succubus, then it'll be very easy for the next person to do it. And instead, I'm running around doing all this shit like crazy or whatever.
Yeah.
And somebody comes to me and they're like, dude, come here. And I'm like, what? What? And they're like, go look at your succubus. And I walk in there and look at her, and the makeup is completely different.
Yeah.
And I said, why'd you do that? And she was like, I just thought it would be cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to kill her. Instead, I just walked out. I walked,
Yeah.
I turned around and walked out, and I was like, people were talking to me. I was like, don't. I just need
Yeah.
some space right now,
Yeah.
you know? And luckily, again, I'm making it work in the edit, but Jesus Christ, man.
It's a lot to deal with.
What goes through people's heads, man? I'm not going to show up. I'm going to just change the aesthetic of this movie without asking anybody.
Yeah.
You know, the stuff that people do is mind blowing in the creative world.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, Jessica. I
You're
appreciate
very
it.
welcome.
And I look forward to working with you again. I was telling you recently, of course, right now I'm navigating financial hurdles and
Yeah.
physical ailments and stuff. But after stuff settles down, hopefully 2027 will be a better year for me. And 2026 hasn't even
I mean,
delivered all of
realistically, it
it.
can't really get any worse.
No, well, not
Yeah.
to stay alive. Not,
Yeah.
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 The next thing that goes worse, it's like this.
Yeah.
Uh, and but I do have a few ideas, and I was kind of teasing you a little bit on some text with one. And again, what I'm trying to do is strip it down even further. And in the process, I texted you that one night as I'm trying to strip all this down. I'm coming up with this very ludicrous shit also at the same time. So same old shit, same old shit. Thank you for being a good collaborator. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for bringing your artistry to my projects. Spread is a better movie because you were there. So I
Thank you
really
very much.
appreciate it. All right,
Have a good rest of your night.
I will. I'm gonna stop recording now,
Okay.
and then we'll say goodnight.
All right.